I don't fucking believe him. I truly do not believe that Ben Simmons is actually injured. In reality, I think he's just being a We're now at the point where I don't care to defend Ben Simmons anymore. It's no secret that Ben Simmons is going to go down as one of the weirdest NBA careers that we've seen. I mean, this guy went from being the #1 pick in the NBA draft and someone that got compared to Magic Johnson and even LeBron. Then he deals with injuries and it turns out he's actually not that good. But honestly, there's room for improvement. Maybe Philadelphia just wasn't the place for him. So then he gets traded to the Brooklyn Nets, where we thought, okay, things are going to get better. He's out of that toxic environment. Maybe he can finally perform. I mean, look at Lonzo Ball. He got traded from the Lakers, he went to the Pelicans, and every time he's been traded to a new team, it seems like he's improved. Granted, Lonzo Ball has not played that much basketball because, well, I made a video about it. Now, I could make a 20-hour documentary on the demise of Ben Simmons in Philadelphia and how that was just terrible for both sides, but I feel like we've talked about this for the longest of time, so I'm not even going to harp on that. What I'm going to consistently bring up in this video is one thing: Ben Simmons deserves to fail. Now, it is very rare for me to talk about a player like this. In fact, I don't think I've ever really done it on my channel. And even if you look up the Ben Simmons videos I've done, I've defended Ben Simmons in the past. There was a while back where Stephen A. Smith was calling into question the mental health of Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons might also be the weakest, most pathetic excuse for a professional athlete we have ever seen.
One of the biggest reasons why Ben Simmons wasn't playing was because of his mental health, and I understand mental health is very important, and I even said in the video, I hope he's not lying, because if he's not, then this is really fucked up what we're doing. But now if we flash forward to the 2023 season, where it seemed like everything was lined up for Ben Simmons, he's done nothing. If anything, he's somehow been worse than he was in Philly. Not to mention, this man at the time of recording this was just announced that he's out for the rest of the year. Now, I would completely understand this if he was in like Orlando or Houston or a team that's tanking, even like the Trailblazers, where they know, okay, we're more than likely not going to make the play-in. But Ben Simmons and the Nets are currently 6th in the Eastern Conference. I don't know, people just haven't been watching this team because they don't have Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving, but they're still a solid team. And now with the playoffs just right around the corner, it turns out that Ben Simmons is not going to be playing for the rest of the year. Now, of course, if you look it up, it's going to tell you that Ben Simmons is currently dealing with a back injury, which he also dealt with last year. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't fucking believe him. I truly do not believe that Ben Simmons is actually injured. In reality, I think he's just being a bitch. Like in the past, I don't think there's anything wrong with him. I think he just doesn't want to play. Man, the amount of injuries that I've seen Ben Simmons have this year is kind of funny to look at. He's had left knee soreness, a left calf strain, and now this back problem. Now look, I'm usually not one to laugh at injuries, and normally I'm gonna take the player's side on this, because of course the media is saying right now that Ben Simmons is being a bitch, but for once I'm gonna agree with them. I don't know why, but this man will not play. Something else that I thought was interesting is not too long ago, Jack Vaughn did an interview and they were talking about Ben Simmons, and this should just sum up Ben Simmons as a player.
You put another big next to Ben, then you got to figure out what the spacing is around him. Then if you put a playmaker next to him, then you got to figure out what Ben looks like without the basketball. Then if you go small with Ben, then you got to figure out, can you rebound enough with him? All right, so the challenges are ahead of us.
So not only are you a liability in every single way imaginable, but you can't even show up for your team when they need you. This is insane to me. What does Ben Simmons actually do? I would love for someone to tell me. I want to flash forward back to the 76ers and Brooklyn Nets trade, where James Harden was traded to the Sixers and Ben Simmons was traded to the Nets. Now look, I know a lot of people were talking about this trade and they're like, oh, Philly won the trade. Well, no shit. But at the time, this made complete sense, and I'm gonna tell you why. Obviously, I don't think anyone is trying to compare James Harden and Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons and James Harden are not on the same level, and I don't think anyone is trying to dispute that. But the fact that the Sixers were getting rid of Ben Simmons, someone that they didn't want anymore, and the Brooklyn Nets were getting rid of James Harden, someone they didn't want anymore, was definitely a trade that made it worthwhile for both teams. Also, if you look at it, the Sixers, they were obviously going to win getting James Harden, but the Brooklyn Nets, they had something interesting. While their original big three was now gone, they had a player like Ben Simmons that could really perform for them. At the time, he was a great defender and he had the opportunity to really improve. Of course, we could play the hypothetical of, oh, what if Ben Simmons could shoot? Or, oh, what if Ben Simmons could actually shoot the fucking, or even stuff like his playmaking, which was very important and why I thought he was still a pretty solid player when he was in Philly. In my mind, even if Ben Simmons was a shell of his former self on every side of the spectrum except defense, I was completely okay with this trade happening, because at the time, Brooklyn had two pretty good scorers. They had Kyrie Irving and they had Kevin Durant. And on top of that, you could have had someone who at his best, I would argue, was one of the best on-ball defenders. However, none of that happened. Ben Simmons this season has been a liability reliability on defense, not just offense, on defense, the one thing I thought he had going for him. I want to remind you guys that this man is making $35.4 million. Look, I'm not saying I'm better than him at basketball because I'm probably not, but Jesus Christ, if you're paying me $35 million, I promise you I could get you a layup each game. I used to kind of feel bad for Ben Simmons, but at this point, you have to understand, if someone is not going to put in the work and they don't even want to try anymore, you can't feel bad. And if I'm being honest, you should be able to criticize them. It's like the great prophet Jermaine Cole once said, don't save her, she don't want to be saved. Look, you can only defend someone for so long until you get to the point where you're just kind of sick of it. I've started to come to the theory that Ben Simmons doesn't want to be an NBA player, but what he does want to do is live the lifestyle of an NBA player. And look, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to live the lifestyle of an NBA player. From what I've seen, it seems like one of the coolest things you could do. But in order to live that lifestyle, you also need to, well, I don't know, play in the NBA. It's like if I wanted to be a famous YouTuber and live that lifestyle, but I wasn't uploading videos. And then when you guys ask me, why aren't you uploading videos? I just say, oh, my back hurts. Eventually, after waiting and waiting, you're just gonna get sick and tired of the excuses and you're going to unsubscribe and leave. Look, I know it's unfair to compare me, a YouTuber, to Ben Simmons, an NBA player, considering that I actually show up for work. I mean, I'm sick right now finishing this video for y'all. Actually, matter of fact, I got back spasms. I'm just gonna leave the rest of the video black. See you guys later. Okay, but all jokes aside, this is getting pretty ridiculous. But hold on, let's not write off Ben Simmons just yet, because I have a couple ideas on how his career could unfold. Let's just assume no matter what happens to the Brooklyn Nets, that Ben Simmons is not playing for the rest of the year. Well, following next year, I expect him to recover from his injury. Now, the state of the team is gonna be a whole other conversation we have to have, but I'm not doing that right now. But all I'm gonna say is that Ben Simmons could have an opportunity to be one of the more better players on that team, but he's gonna have to do a couple things. If he could be a solid defender and a decent playmaker, I think he'll have a pretty good spot on that team. Oh, and also, don't be a liability on every side of the ball. I'm not sure how Ben Simmons is gonna be on the offensive side other than being a playmaker, because he needs to have the confidence to shoot the ball. And I'm not just talking about shooting threes. Look, if you can't shoot threes, you can't shoot threes. That's honestly fine. And Ben Simmons, he can get away with not shooting threes if he could just drive. Hell, if Ben Simmons doesn't want to take another jump shot for the rest of his career, I'd be okay with that. But if he could be aggressive and just drive, which I know he doesn't want to do because he doesn't want to shoot free throws, well, then there's really nothing you can do about it anymore. I know some people in the comment section might just say, okay, why doesn't Ben Simmons retire? And honestly, I would agree with you if he wouldn't be walking away from about $78 million. I think there's a possibility that he just plays out the rest of these 2 years in whatever the fuck this is, but after that, I honestly could see him retiring. But there is another solution, something that I think Ben Simmons could not possibly mess.
1支后卫，身高6尺10，身披10号战袍，本西蒙斯 ，Number 10。Ben Simmons!
Yeah, I've been sitting on this joke for about a week. Look, all jokes aside, at the end of the day, Ben Simmons completely deserves to fail. I don't care anymore about this man. There's more than likely a chance I never make a video about him again, because last time I checked, we don't make videos about the Shanghai Sharks or the Guangdong Tigers. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy the video, leave a like on this. Can we get 292 likes? I never asked for likes, but you know what? Let's have more likes than Ben Simmons had points this year. And as always,
Guangdong Tigers. Ni hao! Ni hao! Ni hao!
Yes, fuck that bitch till the day I die. 20 on the dash, I got bloody red eyes. I got the bag coming in, finna get me.